for commissioners and presenters. When you see the sign, you either speak louder or speak slower, please, just to help for interpretation and for record purposes. Okay, so hola a todos, bienvenidos a nuestra segunda reunión de la comisión. Antes de comenzar, quería dar un recordatorio. Debido a la votación de la última reunión, el idioma principal de esta reunión será en español, con interpretación en inglés. Sin embargo, algunos de los presentadores hablarán inglés, así que asegúrense de agarrar los audífonos. Otro recordatorio para los comisarios y presentadores: cuando vean este papel, por favor, hablen más alto, más despacio. Okay, gracias. And Victor, you can do the mic check if you need to. Cool. Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. The time is 7:02. My name is Debbie Schechter. I will help today to run the meeting. In the future, what I'm doing today will be done by the chair of the commission. So we'll now begin roll call. Thank you.
Ahora comenzaré a pasar lista. Por favor, digan presente cuando diga su nombre. Yesenia García. Judith Guerrero. Presente. Yolanda Guzmán Calderón. Rogelio Nador. Presente. Stephanie Perez. Presente. Jonathan Ramírez.
Presente.
Corina Rodríguez Pérez.
Presente.
Nicolás Romero González.
Presente.
Chazars.
Presente.
Our next agenda item is public comment. During this time, anyone may speak for up to 2 minutes on any topic that's not on the agenda. So if you'd like to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and we'll call your name.
Ahora ha llegado el momento de los comentarios del público general. ¿Alguien tiene un comentario público sobre algún tema que no esté en la agenda? Tenga en cuenta que la comisión no podrá hablar ni tomar medidas con respecto con puntos que no están en la agenda. Si desea hacer un comentario público, por favor traiga una nota de orador a la secretaria. Cada persona tendrá 2 minutos para hablar. Parece que no hay comentarios del público en este.
So it looks like there's no public comments. So now we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is the swearing in of a new commissioner for the Farmworker Advisory Commission. So I'd like to introduce Lauren Carroll, the Deputy County Attorney, who will do the swearing in.
Hello, Karina, if you would mind standing up and raising your right hand. I guess I should confirm, are you okay with this in English? Yeah. Okay, great. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Karina Rodriguez Perez. I, Karina Rodriguez Perez. Do solemnly swear or affirm. That I will support and defend. The Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. Of the State of California. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
The Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I will take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully.
and that I will well and faithfully
Discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, and I have a form for you to sign later.
Okay, thank you.
Our next agenda item number 4 is an update and, yes,
We're taking questions.
sorry.
Si hay alguna pregunta o comentario de los comentarios, pueden decir algo. Nomás un recordatorio, deben de oprimir el botón del micrófono para poder hablar. Y si por favor pueden acercarse al micrófono para que podamos escucharlos. Gracias. Okay. Ahora ha llegado el momento de comentarios públicos. Durante este tiempo, los miembros del público, si desean hacer un comentario sobre el tema número 3 del juramento, por favor traiga una nota de orador a la secretaria. Parece que no hay comentarios del público.
Now we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is an update and commission discussion on the Half Moon Bay shooting, the county's efforts to date and the work moving forward. I'd like to introduce District 3 Board of Supervisor Ray Mueller and San Mateo County Executive Officer Mike Howard.
So I don't have to bend over. Thank you all for your service. It's the first time I've had the chance to meet all of you. So what I wanted to go ahead and update you on is what we're doing to date for the farm workers and their families who were affected by the shooting. What the county has done to date is that we've gone ahead and provided housing for the farm workers. We have the Board of Supervisors has allocated money to provide housing to the farm workers for the entire year. And we're working on finding that housing now as we transition them from where we had them for 30 days with Airbnb to more temporary housing for that year. In addition to that, the county has created wraparound services for each one of those families to try to help meet their needs. And we've been doing that since the night of the shooting. And then going forward, what we really tried to do out of this strategy is figure out how we can help all farm working and ranch hand families on the coast and throughout San Mateo County. part of that process is to try to create the culture where we just look at housing that's substandard and accepted. And for many years, that would happen because people were afraid that if anyone said something, family would lose its home. And so the county is really started to look at that culture and said, we need to change that. And what we're doing is we've created a task force at the county that will go out and look at all of the housing in the county for farm workers and for ranch hands, each location by each location. And we're going to address where there are health and safety issues, where families really shouldn't be living there. Then we can move them out to somewhere that's healthy and safe. In a circumstance where a home isn't permitted, but someone can live there while we fix it, we're going to leave the family there. The family will leave them there. It's really important to understand in this process is that we're looking to actually work with the farms and the ranches to improve the housing and with the families. We want it to be a collaborative process. But wherever we find someone who's being mistreated intentionally, the county's going to hold that farm or ranch accountable. This process is going to take some time. And one of the things that we wanted to do while we did this process was to actually make sure we had housing available to move people to if we found people were living in conditions that weren't healthy. So what we've done is we've met with the state and we've met with the city of Half Moon Bay, and we found land where we can go ahead and put temporary housing to move those families. And we applied for a $5 million CERNA grant in order to put modular homes on that land. So we have a place to move people to, including those families who were affected by the shootings. We're starting to very soon, coming weeks, we're going to start implementing that task force to go out. We're not going to do it all at once because we don't want to risk having a situation where people become homeless and we don't have those units built yet. So we're going to stagger this out over time to make sure we can prepare. The other thing that we're looking at internally at the county is how hard do we make it to build farm worker and ranch hand housing? How can we improve working with the community in order to provide that housing and make it easier for farmers and ranchers to provide it? So we realized we have work to do in that area too. But at the end, our vision is first to build this amount of housing, which is probably about 45 to 60 units on this one parcel. And then long-term, the vision that we're working toward at the county is to build another new ridge. And we're working on that as well and have that as a long-term goal and vision, but not too long-term. I want to get that done as soon as we can. So those are the things that we're working on with respect to housing. What I can tell you also is that our office and Dr. Marisol Durrani, we've been working with advocates on the coast to try to figure out where there are gaps. So, for instance, this event, this tragedy, showed us that there are many Chinese farm workers, Asian farm workers on the coast. And so what we're trying to figure out now is what services is the county providing and where are there gaps where we can do better? And we're working with the county to do that. And we want to hear from you with respect to all of these programs. We want to understand how we can be better as we do this. And it's really, there's all sorts of decisions to be made along the way that we really could value. We really value your wisdom, share about how we can do better. So I think I've touched on a lot of areas. And so I'm going to go ahead and see if the county manager, Mr. Callaghan, has anything else to share, but I want to, before I give the mic to him, I want you to tell you how lucky we are to have him as our county manager. Because through this process, any ask I had for the families, or any ask I had about trying to roll out these programs, he's my biggest champion to do it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And let me brag about this supervisor for a little bit too. He came in the office, and the day he came in, we were hit by those massive storms. He was on the ground, he was out here in the rain and the storms. And then following shortly thereafter, we had this tragedy out here. Supervisor Mueller was out here again on the ground, day in, day out, at nighttime, making sure that all the needs were met. And there's really work with our office to continue to make sure that we had a long-term strategy. And for that, I think he deserves a big round of applause. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to serve the community and to serve this county in this capacity. I want to thank our nonprofits who are here tonight, who did such an amazing job during the storms and through the tragedy that they went through. I want you to know that we are responsive and our eyes are wide open. We understand that no one should have to make a decision whether to live in substandard housing or live on the street. We are committed to the county making sure that we have secure housing for our farm workers. We immediately responded, as the supervisor said, with our nonprofits, provided shelter to those 37 individuals that were displaced by the tragedy. We provided them with wraparound services, mental health services, funding to get them through the immediate time period, transportation, food, assistance to get on Medi-Cal for those who. It was really important for those folks to understand that they have a whole county that was there to support them and wrap our arms around them, and that there is a safety net that exists in this county. We couldn't have done it without our nonprofit partners who are terrific. The supervisor talked about the immediate need that we have for housing, and we're taking care of that. As of today, half of those individuals who were in Airbnbs are now housed in residences where they'll stay for at least a year. That is the immediate term for housing. The intermediate, the middle term, is what the supervisor talked about in collaboration with our good friend Matthew Chichester, city manager of Half Bay, and the wonderful city council that he has, working to create 40 to 60 modular units that people can live in. These are homes, actual homes. We're going to try to do that as quickly as possible. We hope to do it within a year. We've got some funding out there to do that. So it's supposed to stay its own for a year, then maybe move to these other more permanent places. What we're trying to do is create a community there, a community that people can live in. And then the supervisor talked about the long-term goal of finding another facility. And that will be a little bit more difficult, but I think we're up to the task. We just ask you to all continue to work with us and continue to come together like this as a community, because this is what makes the difference in the community. People work together. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
¿Hay alguna pregunta de los comentarios? Recordatorio de hablar al micrófono y oprimir el botón, por favor.
Yo tengo una pregunta. En primer lugar, aprecio el trabajo que han hecho. Sé que es mucho trabajo y sé que no solamente pasó las inundaciones, pero también la tragedia al mismo tiempo. Y entonces el trabajo que están haciendo y que van a estar yendo a los diferentes campos. Es buen trabajo, pero también va a ser muy estresante para los trabajadores del campo. Y es, creo que más fácil para el condado hablar directamente con los dueños del campo, pero desafortunadamente ellos no son los que van a estar afectados y perdiendo sus hogares posiblemente, aunque sea temporalmente, es su hogar. Y van a estar tristes de salir aunque sea una semana. Entonces, creo que hay mucho trabajo también del condado que hacer para avisarle directamente a los empleados qué es lo que está pasando y que no sea una sorpresa para ellos. Y no se han pensado en presentar esa información directamente a los empleados, no solamente a los dueños de los departamentos.
So the difficulty is that we have to gain access to the employees. So we're kind of stuck in a situation where we've come to share it with you tonight, and we've shared it with, we could share it with nonprofit groups and those who are providing services, and I've made myself available to do that at different events. And we've tried to make it clear in communication, so I've already gone to meet with farmer organizations to try to make sure that everyone understands that this is a collaborative process and not a punitive process. And so we're not looking to displace people. The only reason but that's going to happen is if it really is truly an unsafe place for a family to be. And we're going to want, and we have some place to move to that is healthy. So we're taking that on. And so, but I understand your concern very much. It's something that we've wrestled with, but I can't, after seeing how bad it is in some places, on balance, we have to do something.
And to follow up on that, Supervisor is absolutely right. We don't want to displace anyone. We want to work with the owners. And to that extent, the board has set aside $1.2 million to help individual owners upgrade their buildings so that to make them habitable, to make them safe. And we do have that money available on a loan basis to farmers to avail themselves of, to make those places, to make sure that they're safe for those living there. We will be encouraging owners to take us on.
If the commission has suggestions, other ways that we can reach out. You don't have to get into it tonight. If you think about it later on, you can pass it to staff and let us know. Any suggestion would be very helpful.
Yo solo quiero agradecer todo lo que están haciendo por la comunidad. Pienso que es una buena iniciativa, revisar todas las viviendas en estos lugares. Una experiencia así sería no solamente de saber por todos los días de la participación, que algún lo común, si van a ir a algunas áreas para revisar. Yo creo que con eso sería suficiente para los estados que viven en esas casas. Y ahora ahí es una pregunta, ¿cuántas viviendas hay en esas ciudades de agricultura?
So initially what we're trying to build is the 45 to 60 for when we do the work and staggering it with time. So that will hopefully get us enough to get the work started. And then we're trying to build a lot more. So the long-term vision is to build a lot more, but the work will, depending upon how many we find that can't be fixed, then that's going to impact the pace of the work. But we're also trying to look at how can we ease the planning rules to make it easier for when we find something that's not right for that farmer or rancher to bring in something that will meet the rules. So it's, but I think I really appreciate both of your suggestion because it makes me think now, we absolutely are going to be we have to set up the appointment to go. So at the time we set up the appointment to go, that gives us the opportunity to provide materials provided to the families and things. So that's something that we absolutely should do, and I very much appreciate the suggestion. We can definitely get that on the banks. Thank you.
La pregunta es, pues, si no saben cuántos lugares de agricultura hoy en día proveen casa para los cuidados.
We don't know how many units.
How many farm workers or how many farm agricultural locations provide housing for the employees?
It's a good question. So that's part of the issue that we're trying to ascertain is that trying to find out is that not everybody has registered. So one of the things that we're doing in this process is surveying all of the different lands. We have a list of those who've registered. We have another list of people based on the way that the farm is situated or the ranch is situated, that it makes sense they would have it, but they haven't necessarily registered. But we're systematically going to go through all of the lands that we can tell that it would make sense that there could be. So, and then the thing is, we want to try to bring everybody into compliance. So, thank you.
After you go and visit and then, allow for, I guess, the rebuilding of, the units that are there now, will there be something put in place to yearly, go back and look and see how these units are doing and if they're still up to, I'm assuming, like permits or things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. All the questions have been great. What were you, so based on the answer is yes, and what we've talked about, we're still putting together the plan, but based on what is there, it may require a different level of inspection and how often we go back, because there's some types of housing that may fall into disrepair faster than others. We want to make sure that they're always being maintained, but the answer is yes. The whole idea that is that what good is it to have laws on the books if we don't have an active enforcement taking place to make sure that everything's there. And being in that sort of, once we get this all done, the community is going to be much stronger, and agriculture is going to be much stronger on the coast, because we're going to attract a lot of farm workers who are going to want to be here. It's going to be a better place. We're going to outcompete other areas, and that'll give us a strong, thriving, healthy workforce to bring to really support farming and ranching on the coast. And I know how much our skilled farm workers love farming and ranching. So so does our agricultural community. So long term, once we get through this beginning, that we'll all get through together, we're going to be in a much better place on the other side.
And your question really hits on something that we talked about the other day, and that is need for annual inspections. And as you know, our resources are stretched pretty thin right now, so I'll be asking the Board of Supervisors to hire 2 more full-time people to conduct these inspections on an annual basis, so they become very familiar with these locations and the farmers and the farm workers out there. They'll also act as a resource for complaints from farm workers. So we'll be taking that to the Board of Supervisors in the near future.
Once you go into the farms, if you do have to move somebody out of the farms, what can they expect from the county in the way of support? Are you going to find housing for them or something? Are you going to find permanent housing until they can go back to the farm? Or what other services they're going to be considered? I understand the need for the task force, but I think there's always a lot of concern from the farm workers as to what happens if you need to move me out of my house and when can I get back, or
Do I have to find a place now that I have to pay for myself?
So that's why we're building the farm, the capacity, so that we have places to move to. So that and so that will help satisfy that. And part of the task force, I think there's also fundamentally, people should understand that part of the task force is HSA. It is people who are part of our wraparound services for farm workers to make sure that it's a holistic approach that we're taking. It's not just planning and people don't work with people. We're trying to put together a comprehensive team to make sure we're taking care of everyone that we interact with.
Question. Like when the farmer, like the owner of the land wants to build like a mobile home. But is it gonna be the same amount of time for the permit, for him to get the permit?
It's a great question. And that's one of the things that we're trying to work on now. That in the past, the regulations have been pretty
Yeah.
difficult. Yeah,
Yeah, because one time, it happened to us, one of the mobile homes that I was living, we got a fire, we turned it off. And it took my boss like 4 years to get a permit. To be able to put another one in. That's what I'm saying, it's just gonna take the same amount.
we're trying, that's one of the things that the task force is looking at. I think we actually have a meeting next week with the planning to figure out how we can shorten those timelines and make it easier to get that housing. So
Una sugerencia adicional es, como el tiempo es, si ponen un número al cual los empleados que sí viven en posiciones no muy bien pueden hablar, hacer reportes para que ustedes sepan a dónde ir primero, pienso que sería algo que sí.
sorry.
Sí, como van a agarrar a dos personas adicionales en el cual la gente puede repartir reportes en el futuro. Sí, hay ese número donde reportar antes de que ustedes comiencen ese task force. Yo creo que sería ideal que puedan agarrar las en peor condición. Ahí ya la gente que no se reporte y van a estar para que tengan tiempo.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I think is important is to spread the word that we're approaching this in a manner that if someone does report, that we're going to be able to take care of them. So in the past, my understanding is that people didn't want to report because they were afraid there would be no place for them, but that is going to change. And we're putting on the county website, the task force, the number 4 people can call. And what's already started happening is I actually have farmers and ranchers contacting me saying, I have some problematic housing, can you help us? And so we're trying to figure out how to do that. But yeah, it's a great, we will do that.
I have a comment more than a question. I think another thing to look at in your planning phase as you're in now is as you're also moving people from maybe an unhealthy space to one of those modular units. A lot of different farm workers, depending on where they currently are, pay different amounts in rent. And so just having that in your mind as well, because they might be like, again, just information to the farm workers directly, like nothing's going to change, you're not going to be more impacted or information. And then another clarification point around the permitting. I think you mentioned that if there was a place that was adequate housing and was unpermitted, people wouldn't be asked to leave. People would remain in that same housing, and the county would hopefully have a place to get that place now permitted.
Absolutely. So if there's, and that's the intent, so if there's housing that's being provided to someone and it's unpermitted, or there's something that isn't threatening the health and safety of people there but needs to be fixed. We're gonna leave that family there, and we're gonna work with the owner to go ahead and fix that issue. And so we're gonna wanna do that as in the places that we can. So it's less disruption to the families. And so it makes the most sense for everyone involved.
Eso que es muy importante, antes de iniciar todo esto, estas licitaciones que van a hacer ustedes a los ranchos, es muy importante consultar a los compañeros, a los son los que es la mano de obra que debemos estar bien también junto con la comunidad, con los dueños de los ranchos. Y el trabajador está feliz, está contento, pero el dueño debe estar contento. Las condiciones tanto de gas, agua, luz, las condiciones de habitación son correctas, todo el mundo vamos a estar contentos. Eso que es correcto iniciar en la base es el que levanta la cosecha, es el que está trabajando en el campo, y eso es importante. Estoy escuchando los comentarios, todos bien, bueno, también hay que tomar cuenta desde abajo. ¿Cuál es la preocupación del trabajo? ¿Cuál es la necesidad del trabajo? ¿Cuál es la responsabilidad del dueño con los trabajadores? Yo considero que están en lo correcto. Hay opiniones muy buenas, todos están quedando bien, pero vamos guiando del camino a esto y creo que vamos a llegar a un buen tiempo. Y eso es un punto muy importante. Gracias.
Thank you.
Just a comment, you or think there is 4 commissioners who are actually farm workers themselves. So I would ask, like, how can we help you and like have the review of help as you start your work with the task force?
Well, the comments we've received this evening are very helpful. And what I would say, actually would be interested in having you all weigh in on the letter that we're going to give to people. I think to get feedback from you all would be very helpful on that, to make sure that we're communicating in the correct manner that causes the least worry. And then what would be good is for when we start doing this work, my expectation is that there will be ripple effects in the community to gain that feedback of how it's being received and where we may be making mistakes and making things the right way is a tremendous value from the commission that I'd be very grateful for. So thank you. Thank you for giving me your time this evening and for your service on this commission. It's very important. So I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Ahora ha llegado el momento de los comentarios del público. Durante este tiempo, los funcionarios públicos, si desean hacer algún comentario sobre el tema número 4, por favor traiga una nota de elaboración necesaria. Sí, 2 minutos para. Gracias. Yo le quiero agradecer al condado, a Ray, a Mike, el trabajo que han estado haciendo durante las tormentas y durante esta tragedia. Y creo que estas visitas planeadas que se están haciendo a los ranchos, algo bueno va a salir de ahí. Es muy importante y es hora de que se revisen las condiciones de vivienda de los trabajadores. El punto que quiero hacer es que he escuchado ya en varias ocasiones, no es la primera vez que escucho que recomendamos que se tenga una comunicación directa con los trabajadores del campo. Escuché que te comentó que no hay acceso a los empleados y Cuenta es una de las organizaciones que puede ayudar a organizar una reunión, una reunión con la gente en el campo, en estas zonas, porque también he escuchado que el condado ya se ha reunido 1 o 2 veces con el Farm Bureau, entonces hay gente que tiene este poder, que está recibiendo esta información y los trabajadores del campo siguen sin tener acceso a la información. Entonces, mi recomendación es esta. También cuando estén pensando en comunicaciones, les recomiendo que recuerden que hay gente que lee en inglés, otras que leen en español, otras personas que no leen o escriben. Entonces, para que la comunicación se haga realmente sirviendo a las personas que necesitan enterarse. Gracias. Parece que no hay otro comentario del público.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to agenda item number 5, which is a training session for new commissioners. And I'd like to introduce and turn it over to Larissa Casillas with Urban Habitat.
Buenas. ¿Qué tal? No sé si se recuerdan de mí, yo soy en la última reunión, la primera reunión. Voy a hacer esto en español, así que va a ser una aventura para todos. Larissa Casillas, vengo de una organización que se llama Urban Habitat. Es una organización de abogacía y política. Estamos ubicados en Oakland. Y estoy aquí, queremos hacer un entrenamiento muy breve. Ustedes son nuevos comisioneros de una nueva comisión. Algunos de ustedes quizás te conocen, otros no. Y lo que queremos hacer es, queremos tener una discusión, una plática sobre valores. Queremos platicar, saber cuáles son los valores que ustedes tienen personalmente como individuos. Y yo creo que lo que vamos a ver es que vamos a ver valores que ustedes tienen en común. Y este proceso, esta plática que vamos a tener hoy, ahorita, nos va a ayudar o nos va a ayudar a ustedes después, cuando empiezan el proceso de priorizar cuáles temas o proyectos ustedes quieren empezar a trabajar como una comisión. ¿Saben? Me doy a entender. ¿Sí? Estuve en México un mes en diciembre. Todos los días hablé español. Regresé y como que se me ha olvidado todo. Así que estoy muy entusiasmada y no voy a mentir, un poco nerviosa de estar hablando español hoy. ¿Quién me puede decir qué es un valor? ¿Alguien me puede ayudar? Un valor. Cuando yo digo, ¿qué es un valor que usted tiene?
Bueno, depende de qué estamos hablando. Sí. El valor. Pues es lo mismo, pero en diferentes posiciones.
Sí. Como un individuo, ¿cuál es el valor que usted tiene o que usted trae como un individuo a esta mesa hoy?
México decimos tanto tienes, tanto vales, pero lo que quiero decir yo es que el valor es la dignidad, la educación, la dignificación, el valor también que trae su carro, trae dinero, tienes una casa, tienes esto. Pero creo que depende de lo que estamos hablando.
Muy bien, estamos hablando de valor como usted dijo, dignidad, educación, esos tipos de valores. ¿Sí? Ajá. Muy buen ejemplo. Sí, así que lo que vamos a hacer es, tengo estas tarjetitas y quiero que ustedes escriban 2 o 3 valores que tienen ustedes, que son importantes para ustedes. Y también pensar un poco, tienen que ser valores en que ya ponen en acción, ¿verdad? Yo puedo decir que a mí un valor es guardar el dinero. Pero si voy a la tienda todos los días y me compro algo nuevo, entonces no estoy realmente poniendo ese valor en acción, ¿verdad? Tiene que ser algo que poner en acción. ¿Sí? 2 o 3. Y luego lo que vamos a hacer, les voy a dar como 5 minutos. Y luego vamos a compartir, ustedes van a compartir qué es lo que han escrito. Y por medio de ese proceso vamos a ver cuáles valores tienen en común. Y como dije, después cuando empiezan a priorizar sus temas, ya van a saber, ustedes, mira, tenemos este valor en común, les va a dar una idea de que quizás pueda ser el trabajo que van a hacer juntos. ¿Sí? ¿Preguntas? ¿No? Ok. 5 minutos y tengo tarjetas por si la audiencia también quiere hacer el mismo ejercicio. ¿Tienen ustedes también valores? ¿Sí? ¿Qué más? ¿Quieren participar? Todavía no. Como un minuto más. Vamos a empezar entonces. Quería también decir que antes cuando estaban haciendo preguntas, yo noté muchos valores también, ¿verdad? En que ustedes valoran incluir, involucrar a la comunidad y tienen esa esperanza que la comunidad les va a dar información sobre ellos mismos. No asumir que sabemos qué es lo que necesita la comunidad, ¿verdad? Ir a la base es un valor, comunicación y la seguridad. Así que esos son los valores que ya oí de ustedes por medio de las preguntas que hicieron antes. Ahora vamos a empezar. ¿Quién quiere empezar? Si por favor pueden compartir un valor, decirnos cuál es el valor y un ejemplo. Por ejemplo, un valor que yo tengo es crear comunidad, tener comunidad cerca de mí. Y una acción, un ejemplo de eso en mi vida, es que me gusta ir de voluntaria a la escuela de mi hijo, para que yo pueda hacer comunidad en la escuela donde él asiste, una Eva. ¿Ok? Sí, un valor y un ejemplo, una acción. Y la persona que empieza puede empezar. A ver, ok. Y usted puede escoger a la próxima persona.
La honestidad. La honestidad es algo imprescindible en una persona. Así debemos ser todos honestos. Por ejemplo, si no es dinero, pero que sea honesto en la responsabilidad de su trabajo. Que no sea dinero, que no se toque ese tema, pero sí, en el trabajo soy honesto, hago bien mi trabajo, soy responsable y de acuerdo a mi honestidad, aquí a tiempo, aquí está. Complementar mi trabajo.
Honestidad. ¿Quién escoge para?
Respeto. Por ejemplo, respetar a todas las personas en el trabajo, en la calle, donde quiera que me encuentren, la persona que sea respetada.
Gracias. Respeto.
Siempre da lo mejor de ti. Sean un consejo, o sea, dando algo para una persona que puedas dar algo.
Haz lo mejor de ti.
Hice tres. La primera es ayudar a las personas cuando necesitan ayuda. El segundo es respeto, respetar a las personas, tratarlos con respeto. Y el tercero, es ser considerado. Si una persona, vamos a decir, está en una situación que uno mira que esa persona necesita ayuda, pues, tratar de hacer lo posible de ayudar. Cuando alguien está como en, no se estrés, sino que está como, que uno mira como que esa persona está entrando en depresión, tratar de ayudar. Considerar relación.
Y respeto, así que ya tenemos dos. Respeto, y si hay un valor que alguien ya ha dicho, está bien, pueden decir que. Gracias.
Rogelio.
Para mí, el valor más importante sería valorarse uno mismo como persona y quererse uno mismo para así poder dar un consejo o ayudar a otras personas. Pero como ahorita he dicho, primero empezar por primero con uno como persona, valorarte, quererse uno mismo. Así puedes ayudar a otras personas o dar un consejo a otras personas que necesitan. O sea, hay una persona que pide un consejo, te pide ayuda, puedes dárselo o decírselo, porque tú como persona te valoras tú mismo.
Muy bien. Hola. Sí, muy bien. ¿Quién escoge?
Gracias, compañero. Yo, al igual que Nicolás, no lo copié, creo que también he escuchado mezclar en otros lados, pero honestidad lo puse junto con transparencia. A mí se me hace muy importante siempre decir la verdad, aunque sabemos que a veces la verdad duele. Y también es importante cuando hacemos errores decirlo y después de decirlo poder arreglarlo, ya sea tú mismo o junto con tus compañeros de trabajo o alguien más en tu mismo hogar. Y siento que siempre que he tratado de esconder algo, me siento como muy feo, se siente como pesado su cuerpo, no puede relajarse. Y siempre la honestidad. Te doy paso a John.
Gracias. Tengo anotado muchas de las mismas cosas que han dicho otros, respetar, intentar hacer mi mejor, es para pero tengo otra que no han dicho a alguien a nivel de citar y como que para mí es importante no comparar lo que tengo con otras que tal vez tengan más que tengo. Gracias para lo que tengo. Esta noche mirando el sol se cae en el mar, era una buena experiencia y es una manera de intento hacer todos los días, hacer tomar dar gracias a lo que es bueno.
Gracias. Agradecimiento. Voy a ser honesta y decir que me gusta mucho la transparencia que venimos también. ¿Quién falta?
También tengo valores muy similares. Pero creo que es tener un impacto en la comunidad, en el mundo. Creo que un ejemplo es también la carrera en que poder ayudar a la gente que lo necesita.
Yo también tengo cosas similares con la honestidad y como Corina, creo que la transparencia es muy importante. Como dice el dicho, la verdad, pero incómoda. Y a veces está bien estar incómoda. Y otro también que siempre he usado para decir es la humildad. Yo soy inmigrante de este país. Mi mamá sigue siendo trabajador del campo y es la que me mantiene con los pies sobre la tierra siempre. Y es la que siempre me ha alentado a tener los logros educativos que he tenido. Siempre ella me ayuda a mantenerme humilde.
Qué bonito. Humildad. Agradecimiento, transparencia, honestidad. Eso tener impacto, muy buen valor. Respeto, que se me ha olvidado. ¿Qué más oímos? Valorar uno mismo, a uno mismo. Y consideración, y dar lo mejor de uno mismo, ¿verdad? ¿Se me olvidó uno? Yo creo que eso fue todo lo que vimos, ¿sí? Sí, y a ver, y las personas en la audiencia, ustedes tuvieron igual, valores iguales, respeto, humildad, algo que salió que no, vieron, algo que ustedes escribieron que no sé. Ajá, a ver,
Yo quiero compartir algo, no sé si esté bien o esté mal, pero
si tiene que ver con esto,
para
sí,
mí es
está bien.
importante la salud,
La salud, muy bien.
porque si estamos enfermos, andamos de mal humor, se hacen los problemas, y
Sí,
estar uno muy positivo y hacerlo, porque a veces el trabajo, no puedo, sí lo puedo hacer,
Sí.
pero la salud
La
para mí
salud.
es importante,
sí,
y hacer comunidad.
y esa comunidad, sí. Gracias. Ok, lo que voy a hacer ahora es me van a dar las tarjetas. Yo se las voy a dar al personal de la comisión. Luego ustedes van a revisar, a visitar esos valores otra vez. ¿Sí? ¿Cualquier pregunta? ¿No? Muy bien, ¿y qué piensan? Yo creo que ahora como que me siento yo como que los conozco un poquito mejor. ¿Ustedes se sienten igual? ¿Sí? ¿Hubieron sorpresas? ¿No? Ok, menos mal, ¿verdad? Que no hubieron sorpresas. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Rebeca. Ahora ha llegado el momento de los comentarios del público. Durante este tiempo, los miembros del público, si desean hacer algún comentario sobre el tema número 5, por favor traigan una nota de la hora de secretario. Parece que no hay comentarios del público en este momento.
Would anyone from the public like to share their values? Okay. Thank you. So next, we're going to move to agenda item 6, which is election of Farm Worker Commission Chair and Vice Chair. So I'll turn it back to Lauren Carroll from the County Attorney's Office, who will explain the roles of the chair and the vice chair and the process for voting.
Oh, should we put up the version of the slide that's in Spanish? I think it's the next one. Hi, everyone. If you don't remember me from the last meeting, my name is Lauren Carroll and I'm the Deputy County Attorney. I work for the county and I've been assigned to support the Farmworker Advisory Commission. And mostly I will be advising you on rules of procedure and government transparency and public ethics and things like that. So if you ever have some sort of legal or procedural question that you're wondering about, you can always send your questions to staff and they will forward them on to me. Today, I'm here to talk to you about the roles, the leadership roles in the commission going forward. As Debbie said, she's been coming up here and saying the next item on the agenda, calling for discussion and things like that. But going forward, it should be you all who are guiding that discussion and facilitating. So typically in boards and commissions, we have the role of the chair, who is the group leader. And the group leader is responsible for following all of the rules of procedure, facilitating discussions, working with staff to prepare the agenda, and basically moving the commission along. So here's just I'm telling you all of this because you are about to elect a chair. And so I want you all to be familiar with the roles and be thinking about whether you yourself might want to have that position, or if you have heard something, or if you know someone else in this commission might do a great job serving as chair, so you might want to nominate them. So what does the chair do? The chair, first and foremost, provides an inclusive and supportive environment for the group members by facilitating discussion and encouraging all members to speak up and to encourage public comment and make sure that everyone's voice is welcome. They also coordinate activities of subcommittees. So going forward, you might decide that you want to create some sort of subcommittee. For example, this is hypothetical, but maybe a housing subcommittee that meets separately just to talk about housing. And so the chair would be involved in helping to establish that committee and making sure they're meeting regularly. They ensure that the agendas are developed and shared with the group. So this might be staff connecting with the chair to discuss what's coming up on the next agenda and making sure it reflects everything that was discussed at past meetings and what members really want to talk about. They set the tone and the pace for the group. So that's thinking about ways to ensure that discussion is happening. There's full discussion, but also thinking about if you are, if discussions may be going on too long, or maybe things are starting to get testy, watching that tone and helping the agenda move forward in a productive manner. And similarly, they may share the role of meeting preparation with the staff liaison. I already touched on that. And then they also often represent the group in other settings. So if there is an event, maybe an event being put on by the nonprofit organizations, and we want a representative from the Farmworker Advisory Commission, often, but not always, it's the chair who's kind of the default person to go represent the commission at that event. And then there's also a vice chair, and the vice chair supports the chairperson in all of these roles and maybe fills in when the chair is absent. So I should also, I touched on much of this, but during meetings, the chairperson is the person who opens the meeting, closes the meeting, says, okay, we're moving on to agenda number 4, or we're closing discussion, we're going to hold a vote. It's the chairperson who's leading all of those discussions. And again, that would be the vice chairperson if the chair is not available that meeting. And if you want more information on this, if whoever becomes the chair or the vice chair wants more information about it, it's in the boards and commissions handbook, which you all have. So now I'm going to move on to the process. Oh, actually, I should pause and ask if there are any questions about the role of the chair. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the process of nominating the chair and the vice chair. And this is a process you all will get very familiar with, the motion and voting process. So we've talked about it a little bit. We had some motion and voting at the last meeting. So first, and Debbie will help facilitate this when we get to it, but you're going to have discussions. So this is going to be people talking about if they might want to be the chair, or if they know somebody else who might want to be the chair, but might be too shy to nominate themselves. You are all capable, I'm sure. And in this discussion, it's really informal. It's very easy to nominate yourself or someone else for a chair. You just say something like, I nominate John, or I nominate myself, whoever you want to nominate. And then when the discussion, you can sense it's wrapping up, then we'll move on to a motion to close the nominations. So one of you will have to say, I move to close nominations. And then someone else will say, I second the motion. And at that point, then you will vote on that motion. There'll be a roll call. And if you all agree to close the discussion, then it's time to actually vote on the nominees. And at that point, staff will go through the list, go through all of your names, and you will say the name of the nominee that you support. And then whoever gets a majority will be your new chair and vice chair. I think we'll leave this slide up while you all are discussing and voting and nominating. But do you have any questions about this process right now? Great. Now you're all experts on the Robert's Rules of Order, obviously. I'll hand it over to Debbie.
¿Hay alguna pregunta de los comisarios? Ahora ha llegado el momento de los comentarios del público. Durante este tiempo, los miembros del público, si desean hacer algún comentario sobre el tema número 6, por favor traiga una nota de orador a la secretaria. Parece que no hay comentarios del público en este momento.
Okay, so now we will start the process for nominating the chair and vice chair. So would anyone like to nominate themselves for chair or nominate someone else? And again, as Lauren explained, you can say, I nominate this person, or I nominate myself for chair.
Question. If I were to nominate, tengo una pregunta, si fuera a nominar a alguien, esa persona puede decir, no lo quiero ser nominado.
Yes, if you nominate someone, then we will ask, does that person accept the nomination? So they don't have to do it, only if they're comfortable.
Entonces yo nomino a Nicolás para presidente.
Yo solo quiero hacer un gesto. Para esta responsabilidad hay que tener mucho tiempo, dedicarlo. Y ese es lo que yo no tengo. Mi trabajo es muy pesado, donde yo me desempeño, trabajador agrícola. Y sí me gusta esto, pero la verdad se absorbe mucho yo trabajo a veces hasta las 8 de la noche y no es posible. Yo solo quiero decirles a todos ustedes comisionados para esta responsabilidad hay que tener tiempo, muchas ganas de sacar adelante todo el proceso. Entonces, si es conveniente revirar los demás compañeros, tengan los dos idiomas también, yo tengo un idioma español y harían muy buen papel. No me quiero salir mucho del proceso, pero es mi emoción decirlo. Yo sí me gusta, pero no puedo. Gracias por mí.
Thank you for being so open and honest. And I'll ask if anyone else is interested in nominating themselves or someone else for chair. Judith, do you accept the nomination?
How long is that for? 1 year. Starting 1 year, is it like this one? Or is it like a calendar year?
Starting today.
And you guys will continue.
Thank you, Judith. Would anyone else like to nominate themselves or anyone else for chair?
I would.
Okay, so we have two nominations for Judith. Great. All right, you guys are working well together already. I just have to ask, any other nominations for chair? Okay, let's move to vice chair. Would anyone like to nominate themselves or anyone else for vice chair? Karina, do you accept the nomination?
También es un año.
Yes.
Y solamente cuando no está Judith.
Yes, so you might be invited into other conversations, but you would not be the primarily responsible person. If that makes sense.
Acepto si nadie más se quiere nominar.
Okay, that's fair. Would anyone else like to nominate themselves or someone else for vice chair?
I was going to ask if there's someone here from staff who might be able to speak to the amount of time they coordinate with the chair and the vice chair outside of these meetings. Maybe Emma?
Yeah, certainly.
Hi, my name is Emma Gonzalez, and I'm with the Office of Leader and Staffs, the commission. So we also staff other commissions. This commission meets every other month. So we anticipate usually prepare and work with the chair and present a draft agenda. And I bring some ideas listening from what was today and see if there's an action that you want to present or then staff usually coordinates. So it usually takes about maybe 2 hours that we put into working with the chair, 1 to 2 hours. And some of that will be in their email. Most of the heavy work will come on staff side. However, many of the public will reach out to each of you directly. And then you will have to field those calls or those inquiries. Now, that is only if you can determine how you want to do that, but you can't have one big massive email because of a grammar violation. So we also only email you blind copy so that you only reply back to one or only person. So we really try to work very closely with the chair and the vice chair where the chair is not available. But we tend to try to at least listening or taking notes and projecting and bringing some proposed ideas and agenda items forward as we have tonight to help minimize and actually be more effective during the agenda of the meetings. This commission has also agreed to have 6 meetings a year. 6 meetings a year, and so again, we'll work with the chair on what that looks like. And then we also have a facilitator. We also have some training of some of that can be out.
I think we just got A.
Some long-term planning and priority setting that this commission will do, which will help staff set the agenda long-term. Oh, sorry, there's another one there. That answering the question, we'll take that. I'm trying to watch both things from here. Other staff. Is there any other questions that I could ask or answer? You might have. I am bilingual in both languages. I can facilitate in our staff, so they let me introduce you to the other staff that's here. You will see on a regular basis. Your clerk, Jennifer Castro. Jennifer Lamas is our immigrant services coordinator. She's right there supporting. We also have Joshua Axier, our technology. Kenny Chu, he's outside, and then Megan Gosh. Who are all here, we're all part of staff under the County Executive Office of Community Affairs, and we're here to make sure that this commission is successful and to support you. One of the things that we are also seeing tonight, I know this is outside of it, we are testing tonight the capacity to do more public engagement via using technology. So there's public participation from our community members, not you guys, but the public. So we're actually testing that. And Josh is our technology expert and our team. Well, it does take people, but we're here. That's who you'll see on the regular basis.
Okay, so back to the nomination process. Any more nominations for vice chair? Okay, so I think that it's time for someone to make a motion to close the nominations. Me muevo para cerrar las nominaciones. Thank you. Will someone second the motion?
La moción.
Thank you. So now we hold the vote, right?
La moción fue hecha por el representante Stephanie, secundada por el representante John. Para cerrar las nominaciones para la presidencia de la comisión, voy a proceder a la votación nominal. Cuando diga su nombre, por favor diga el nombre del comisario por el que votan. A representante Yesenia García.
Judith.
Judith.
A representante Judith.
I vote for myself.
A representante Yolanda Guzmán. Representante Rogelio Navarro Martínez. Representante Stephanie. Representante Jonathan Ramírez. Representante Corina Rodríguez. Representante Nicolás Romero Pérez. Representante John Mark. David ha sido elegido presidente con 9 votaciones.
Congratulations, Judith. So we need to. I think we closed nominations both for chair and vice chair, no?
Just for chair.
Oh, okay,
Do another roll call for.
okay, sorry, I'm learning the process with you all. So now we need to close the nominations for vice chair. So will someone make a motion to close the nomination for vice chair?
Luego para cerrar las nominaciones.
Thank you.
La moción fue hecha por el representante Judith, secundada por Stephanie, para cerrar las nominaciones para la vicepresidencia de la comisión. Voy a proceder a la votación nominal. Cuando diga su nombre, por favor, diga el nombre del comisario por el que vota. Representante Yesenia. Representante Judith.
Corina.
Representante Yolanda.
Corina.
Representante Rogelio.
Corina.
Representante Stephanie.
Corina.
Representante Jonathan.
Corina.
Representante Corina.
Corina.
Representante Nicolás.
Corina.
Y representante Jambar. Gracias. Corina ha sido elegido vicepresidente como de votación.
Thank you, congratulations, Corina. Okay, congratulations on the commission on getting through that. So we are going to move on to agenda item number 7, and we'll do this pretty quickly. This is an overview of the Farmworker Commission goal setting process. So this is a process that we are introducing today, and then we will follow in the meetings to come. So we'll actually start to get into it in your next meeting. So why is it important to set goals for the commission? This is a famous quote. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So we want to know where we're going and how we're going to get there. So, how do we set goals? Well, there are a few steps, and I'll just briefly talk about them. The first is to think about the purpose of the commission. So, as you know, and as you heard from the supervisor and the county executive today, they are looking for your advice on ways to meet the needs of farm workers. That's your main purpose. The second thing is identify the issues and outcomes that are most important to you as members of the commission and the community. So you, I'm sure, all came to the commission thinking about what are some things that you want to work on for the benefit of the community. So we're gonna want to hear from those as we hear from you about those as we move into this process. You might want to hear from others to get more information about what issues are important. So you might want to hear from the public. You might want to hear from some organizations that work with farm workers. And then the last point is working as a commission during the next few meetings to set goals, actions to achieve them, timeframes, and responsibilities. This is also where you can think about the connection to the values that you came into today with. So ideally, your values should be guiding your goals and guiding what's important to you. So we'll want to reflect on those values as we're coming up with goals and the things that are important to you. Is there another slide? Yes, okay. So something that it would be great for you to think about before the next meeting is first, what are those issues that are important to you? But also, what information would be helpful to you as you go into this goal planning process? So do you want to hear from community members? Do you want to hear from community-based organizations? Is there information that you would want from the county? So is there data that the county might have on farm workers that would be helpful to you? So we're just about at the end of the meeting, but I do want to, if there's something that comes to mind for any of you, I do want to open it up to get those ideas. Otherwise, this is something for you to think about between now and the next meeting. And you can convey your comments to county staff so that they can prepare that meeting with the information that you are seeking. Can I open it up to questions or comments? Or so any questions or comments from the commission?
If we did want to hear from the community, how could we do that? And more importantly, is it, do we say a specific meeting where, you know, we allow them to come up?
That would be one, that's a great question. That would be one way. You could ask the county to work with you to set up a meeting to hear from farm workers. You could use your own connections to reach out yourselves. You could work with organizations that support farm workers to ask them to get input. I don't know if staff have other thoughts. And again, the next meeting will be the start of this process. So you don't have to get all the input before the first meeting. It just would be good to think about if you want that and start the process together.
¿Alguna otra pregunta de los comisarios? Ahora ha llegado el momento de los comentarios del público. Durante este tiempo, los miembros del público que desean hacer un comentario sobre el tema número 7, por favor traiga una nota de honor a la sala. Parece que no hay comentarios del público en el contexto educativo.
So we're moving on to the next agenda item. This is the last real agenda item, number 8, commissioners' reports. So this is an opportunity for commissioners to give a brief report on any community events, projects, or other updates that you'd like to bring up to the commission. This is optional. You don't have to report out, and this is an item that will be on the agenda for each meeting. So, would anyone like to report out on the meeting?
Hay algún informe de los representantes?
Okay, so now we'll move to adjourn the meeting. It is now 8:30. I'm so sorry. So we have a report from Marisol from District 3.
Buenas tardes a todos. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that at our District 3 office, we are continuing to work to provide whatever information it is that you need when you call our office. Solo les quería decir que en el distrito estamos trabajando nosotros para tratar de mantenernos informados con ustedes cuando llamen a nuestras oficinas. Y otra cosa que les quería informar es de que tenemos una página de web. Eso lo vamos a poder compartir en el futuro para que tengan más información, pero cuando van a Google, solamente les voy a decir la palabra más clave, es www.smc.gov.org y pueden poner distrito 3 en inglés, District 3, DISTRICT3. Pero una cosa de la página web que les quería indicar es de que tenemos una manera para que puedan poner su domicilio y está un mapa donde pueden encontrar si su hogar o el hogar de alguien que ustedes conocen está en nuestro distrito. One of the things I wanted to mention was that at our, we have a website that we're continuing to update, and that is, I'm going to give you the link, www.smc for San Mateo County, gov.org/District 3. We are continuing to update it, but we have just added a map where you can put your address or the address of someone you may know in case they're trying to find out if they belong to our district. You can put the address on that map and you will find a list of the cities that are on in our district as well, and also the names of our staff that we have currently. También tenemos los nombres del personal de nuestro distrito. Y felicidades a todos ustedes y muchísimas gracias. Thank you all and congratulations for being appointed.
Thank you. So now we will move to adjourn the meeting. The time is 8:38 and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Yes.